From the heartland of America, focused on God, family, and country, the mouthpiece of the Midwest. This is Dale Carter's America.
We're back with another episode of Dale Carter's America, and boy, this one is going to be a lot of fun. Buckle in, because it's going to be great. I am Dale Carter, and he's Kurt Wheeler, I think.
Hi.
If you're, wow, it's like your lips aren't even moving.
Yeah.
So if you're watching the video version of Dale Carter's America on YouTube or Rumble, we're still on Rumble?
Yes.
Okay. Explain what it is they're seeing right now.
This is a anime AI version of myself. The cord broke, so.
Yeah. So, you know, we make upgrades to the equipment at Dale Carter's America, especially since now we're in the new studios here in Raytown. Like, we needed a new boom. Look at this, man. I can move this around.
It's nice.
Fancy.
It's nice.
It's fancy. And we can only do that because we have great sponsors.
Absolutely.
And one of those is Bob Watson, my dear friend at State Farm Insurance. Now, you may notice if you're watching the video version that I'm wearing a Bob Watson State Farm Insurance shirt today. File that away for the end of the podcast. There's some things I want you to file away for different parts of the podcast episode today. But of course, Bob Watson, State Farm Insurance, 7th and Main in Blue Springs. You can reach him at 816-229-7878. Auto, home, life, anything that's important to you to ensure you want the best. And the best brand out there is State Farm, and the guy who's been doing it for 50 years is my good friend, Bob Watson. Bundle your home and car insurance and save even more. Reach out to Bob, tell him you're a big fan of the podcast and you want a rate quote. And when you get Bob Watson and his team working for you, when the worst thing happens, they're always going to be there because, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Tremendous people.
So last night, we recorded this on Saturday, so last night I was at the Sammy Kershaw concert at the Ameristar Casino, 90s country, really good stuff. And, you know, what used to happen to me when I'd go to shows like this is people would say, you know, hey, that's Dale Carter. He's the guy at KF, blah, blah, blah. And I still get that to some degree. But last night, there were like half a dozen people who grabbed me on the way out of the place and said, I love the podcast.
Wow.
Love the podcast.
That's awesome.
Finally, there's two guys out there that are saying exactly what I think. And that's important, right? Mm-hmm. You know, the left is what the left is, and we make fun of them and we criticize them a lot. But what we are not bootlickers for the other side. We're not bootlickers for Donald Trump. When we have disagreement with things that Donald Trump is doing, we're going to say it.
Yeah,
right?
Far from it.
Because we have principles on this podcast, principles of conservatism and doing things the right way. And sometimes we're going to disagree with Trump. The left can't say that, man. They were right there with Joe Biden all the way down to the very end, and we'll get to some of that later, too. So Tyler was there. We know Tyler. Tyler's dad owns Clay Como Shooters, and he and his dad were both there. And Tyler was like, man, I got to get my picture with you. This is great. It was awesome. I mean, it's a great feeling for what it is we're trying to do and what we're trying to build, that it's getting through, that people really get what we're doing.
Yeah, it definitely it makes it worth it, you know, to it's one thing seeing like views on a screen or comments or whatever, but then having people that actually, you know, appreciate it in person, or when we do our live events at Funhouse Pizza and people come out, you know.
Somebody asked about that last night, and the next one of those is going to be in May, and you and I'll talk about, you know, what date works for both of us, because May's going to be a crazy month.
It is, yeah.
But we've got to get this podcast done because people are depending on it, and it means a lot to me when you reach out and say that, and I know Kurt feels the exact same way. So what are all the ways people can follow and help spread the word?
Yeah, so make sure that you are subscribed on YouTube or Rumble for the video version. You can see our beautiful faces and memes here. Sort of, yeah. Well, you were mentioning, you know, people recognizing you. So now, if you ever see this guy here on the right, you can say hi in public. No, okay.
I think that meme needs a haircut. Is what I think.
So subscribe on YouTube or Rumble. Make sure to drop a comment, leave a like, and that all helps with the algorithm. Share it with your friends. You can find the audio-only version on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and then follow us on Facebook as well. Join in the conversation. We always have fun in the comments, especially Dale has fun in the comments.
Oh, I do. I love it.
Yeah, join in, and thanks for tuning in.
All right. So let's go back to last week for a second. Remember this comment from Vice Presidential candidate Tim Walz talking about the Elon Musk / Tesla stock price?
It's this one, right?
Yeah.
And I know some of you know this on the iPhone. They've got that little stock app. I added Tesla to it to give me a little boost during the day. 225 and dropping.
Oh, yeah, so, 225 and dropping. It's going down. I'm so happy. And then it turns out like they've got like 1.8 million shares of Tesla funding the Minnesota Retirement Fund for state workers.
Yeah.
So he had to clean this up, right? So he cleans it up. I'm going to try and do my best, because you do the Donald Trump thing, right?
Yeah. Oh, well, it's slipping, but yeah.
But the Tim Walz thing is, I was just joking. I was joking, Kurt. Can't they take a joke?
You have to flop around a lot.
They're joking.
Yeah. So roll the next clip.
Stock app. I added Tesla to it to give me a little boost during the day. 225 and dropping.
This guy bugs me in a way that is probably unhealthy. I have to be careful about being a smart. I was making a joke. These people have no sense of humor.
We have no sense of humor, Kurt. I was just making a joke. Isn't it funny?
It's funny when you do that.
It's funny.
It's like, my God, it's crazy,
That's honestly, I think, the best impression we've had on the show. That's very good.
Somehow I think that's going to be a real.
You see me writing down the timestamp as we speak.
It's going to come back and bite me in the ass. Probably worse than my dance moves at the Snake Saturday Parade. You saw that clip, right?
I saw it, yeah.
Oh, my God.
I quickly scrolled past it.
That hurt my hip. I was limping for a week after that. Mark, our boss, goes, "What's the matter with you?" And I'm like, well, I think I got too crazy with the dance moves at Snake Saturday. Nice. Craziness. Okay, so that gives you an idea of what today's podcast episode is going to be like, so be prepared to laugh and have some fun with us. Something that is not a laughing matter is colon cancer. We all know someone who has had cancer in their lives. And there's nothing really worse than colon cancer undetected. And that's why we got into this deal here with Dr. Mark Taramina at Midwest GI Health and Wellness, because he wants to spread the word that you should get your colonoscopy even younger than you thought. 45 is the new 50. And I think at the rate we're going, Kurt, that number's going down. It may well end up being 40. So if you think you have any symptoms at all, and we had a listener of the podcast who had symptoms who was younger than 45, went to Dr. Taramina, they found a huge polyp, and that young man is on the way to treatment, and he is going to be fine because of early detection. It is that serious. So reach out to Dr. Taramina and get scheduled to get that colonoscopy. You don't need a referral from your doctor. Just call 816-836-2200. They're on the web at MidwestGIHealth.com. Dr. Mark Taramina, really the leading colon doctor here in the Kansas City area. Google rating of 4.9 out of 5 stars, which is the highest in the Kansas City area. When you're approaching 65, some of us closer than others, 3.5 years for me, not that we're counting. Medicare is the checkered flag in your work career. It's like a lot of folks are just staying in their job because they have insurance. And even with our company, as hideous as the insurance is, at least there's insurance there. Medicare is like, that's the checkered flag. But it's so confusing, you need a guy like Kirk Doris to help you navigate those waters. Kirk is at MedicareSimplifiedKC.com. He's got an office on Nolan Road in Independence, and you can reach him at 816-701-6661. Reach out to him to help as you're getting closer to Medicare. If you've got a relative who's 65, this is a great call for you to make. And Kirk wants me to remind you that Medicare and Social Security, they're not going to call you. And there are scammers out there every day. And they're calling saying, I'm from Medicare and blah, 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 blah. That does not happen. Okay? They go through the mail the old-fashioned way. So when you call Kirk Doris, you're going to have an advocate on your side with 30 years experience dealing with Medicare. Always have a pro, no matter what you're doing, and the pro for Medicare is Kirk Doris, MedicareSimplifiedKC.com at 816-701-6661. But what about this? And what about that? What aboutism? You remember when we were like criticizing Biden and all that, and all the lefties out there and the keyboard warriors, you're practicing whataboutism. Yeah. Whataboutism. That became a word.
Yeah.
It's a made-up word.
It's a deflection. It's a deflection tactic.
Definitely a deflection tool. It's a turn of the phrase when you criticize. Well, what about this? What about that? And of course, if you go online and research whataboutism, they give you a lot of videos of Donald Trump. That was shocking to me that Donald Trump is the most guilty person out there of whataboutism. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're going to turn the tables on them because I'm sick of hearing about it. You have to compare and contrast. You've got to compare where Donald Trump was before Joe Biden and Donald Trump 2.0 with the 4 years that we just came through. And that takes me to Chatgate. Because they got to have a gate, right? Everything's got to be the worst thing since Watergate. And you know that on the left, both the politicians and the media, they've been lying in wait. It's like they're going to step on their own dick at some point. You know they are. They're going to make a mistake. And then we're going to blow it up. It's going to be the biggest scandal that you've ever seen in this country. And boy, did they get one. Chatgate, right? So let's talk about what actually happened. There was a secure chat of some kind, some technology that they're using, right?
Signal.
Yeah. And they brought together the team talking about the Houthis. I don't really care. They're freaking terrorists. And somehow, some way, a reporter from The Atlantic gets into this chat, right? And don't you find it odd that it's a reporter who hates Donald Trump?
Yeah.
It wasn't Peter Doocy.
Right.
It was somebody who absolutely hates and detests Donald Trump. How did that happen?
Well, I mean, if we're being honest, it's the same thing that always happens. It's somebody from the inside of the conversation, or somebody who was in the room, when we're talking about some of these allegations that get made into books of, oh, well, Trump said, that military veterans are idiots or whatever, Mm-hmm. It's always somebody from the inside who is, a snake or who, has other motives or just sells a lead. You know what I mean?
So you think it was somebody on Trump's team who knifed
I don't know.
him?
I mean, to be honest, I don't really know too much about this.
Exactly.
I've seen it, but
we don't know anything about this.
Yeah.
Yet the liberal politicians and the liberal media, they're out there saying, oh, this is the worst thing since Watergate. What are they going to do? Blah, blah, blah. They're hiding everything. They're not being transparent.
Really care, to be honest. But just purely on the logistical side of it, what you're looking at here are screenshots, our phone screenshots.
Yeah.
So somebody had to take that screenshot. You can't just access this chat that I'm aware of, that I'm not aware of you being able to just hack into it. I mean, Signal is pretty secure, but maybe they could, but to me, it looks like, you can see the arrow down here and stuff. It looks like a screenshot, somebody from within the chat screenshotted it and then sent it out. So,
well, Trump's reaction to it was, somebody screwed up. I guess we better look into that, right? Somebody screwed up. We better look into it. Mike Waltz, the national security advisor, says, I set this thing up. The buck stops with me. A Republican in the Senate has asked for an independent, investigator to look at this from the IG's office. I think that's great. That's transparency. Mm-hmm. When you screw up, and you are going to screw up in government, you're going to screw up in any walk of life. We screw up in radio on a daily basis. We screw up on this podcast. When you screw up, it's like, let's figure out what went wrong and let's don't do it again moving forward, right? I mean, that's logic. Yeah. That's exactly what they're doing. What are they doing that is like, oh, we're hiding this. We're burying this like a cat turd. Doesn't sound to me like they're burying it like a cat turd.
No.
And Mike Waltz may well lose his job out of this. Donald Trump, in the first administration, fired a lot of people.
Yeah.
He'd get somebody in there. He didn't like the way they were doing the job. They're out. How many people did Joe Biden fire in 4 years?
I'll wait.
I don't think he fired anybody.
Yeah.
Right? His Secretary of Defense, the guy with he has to be there if we're going to launch a nuclear attack. That's how important the Secretary of Defense is. All right? He went AWOL twice. This is whataboutism for you liberals out there. You want to say, oh, Dale's doing whataboutism. Well, I think we need to. I think we need to compare what happened before with what's happening now. Okay, so Lloyd Austin was the guy's name, and twice he went AWOL, and Joe Biden and the White House didn't know where he was for days. What if we needed to launch a nuclear attack? Was there any investigation into that? There wasn't. They buried it like a cat turd. And Joe Biden, the guy whose mental faculties were diminishing by the day, he didn't even know the guy's name. Do you remember that in the press conference? Yeah. Oh, that general of mine runs that outfit across the river. He couldn't even think of the word Pentagon.
The black guy, come on.
Yeah, the black guy.
Here, let me play the clip here. This is worth playing just because it's fun.
And so it's all about treating people with dignity. And it's about making sure that, look, I mean, for example, look at the heat I'm getting because I named the Secretary of Defense a black man. I named Ketanji Brown. I mean, because of the people I've named.
Yeah.
He literally says, come on, the black guy, come on.
Well, he had something in the East Room, also during his administration where he couldn't think of it. And he did say that guy running that outfit across the river.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah. So that was Joe Biden. This is whataboutism. And you've got compare and contrast between Donald Trump 1.0, where when people screwed up, they got fired, to Joe Biden, where somebody screws up and it's like, I can't even think of the guy's name. I mean, what the hell does he do? Well, sir, if we need to launch a nuclear attack, you need this guy in the command structure. That's why the Secretary of Defense is that important. Then you've got the whole treatment of Elon Musk and Tesla. We started the deal with Tim Walz, who,
I was just kidding. They don't have a sense of humor.
Right? So
that's never going to get old, by the way.
So I walk into this conversation at work, and I'm not going to name any names, but we have some.
When we're done recording, you can tell me who.
We have some liberal. You may figure it out. We have some very liberal coworkers there.
Yes.
And I walk into this conversation of, well, I mean, I guess they shouldn't be setting Teslas on fire. I guess, right? Mm-hmm. And so I stepped into the conversation and I said, well, the First Amendment gives you the right to peacefully protest whatever you want to protest. But when you step over the line into violence and damage and vandalism and all that, you are breaking the rule. And this person goes into, well, Elon Musk shouldn't be in the government. He wasn't elected by anybody. And I'm like, Donald Trump was elected. Right? And he appoints everybody else. Well, that's not the same thing. And, Elon Musk just shouldn't be there. And, blah, 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 blah. And I said, and I tried to make some sense out of all this. And I said, you do realize that we're almost $37 trillion in debt. We spend $2 trillion more than we take in. Oh, I know all about that. And you know what? I don't want to have this debate anymore.
Based on your impression, I think I know who
I don't want to have this debate anymore.
And it's not Tim Walz.
No. Yeah. So I wanted you to meet the Doge team of America's best and brightest, led by Elon Musk. They were on with Bret Baier this week. And I want to remind you back to the John F. Kennedy administration, where when he came in, he said, we are going to have the best and the brightest. He appointed McNamara, the head of the Defense Department. Nobody had ever heard of this guy. He was a young guy, and he did a tremendous job. John F. Kennedy brought together the best and the brightest. And that's what Donald Trump has done. Hey, he recognizes as a businessman, we're in debt almost 30. It's 36.6 now and going up. We're going to look at the debt clock here in a minute. And we're spending $2 trillion more than we're taking in. And I tried to explain that before this person just went ballistic. I said, look, I'll make this point when we look at the debt clock, because I want to look at it as we're doing it. But the Doge team, the best and the brightest, these aren't a bunch of frat boys sitting around, farting around going, oh, let's do that. Oh, let's do that. They are captains of industry. They've actually run stuff. They are very smart guys. And they all sat down for an interview with Bret Baier, and we got a little short clip just to show you what they're up against.
Revolution. And I think it might be the biggest revolution in government since the original revolution. But at the end of the day, America is going to be in much better shape. America will be solvent. The critical programs that people depend upon will work, and it's going to be a fantastic future. But are we going to get a lot of complaints along the way? Absolutely. You know, one of the things I learned at PayPal was who complains the loudest and with the most amount of fake righteous indignation? The fraudsters. It's a tell. There's some of these NGOs that are crazy, like the $2 billion to Stacey Abrams' NGO that basically didn't exist, and suddenly gets $2 billion awarded from the federal government. She has why? And there are many such cases like that.
Yeah. So who do you trust more? Do you trust these guys? And yes, they're billionaires, and so that's what the left is running against. It's like, oh, the oligarchs, as Bernie Sanders would say. Who do you trust more? Do you trust them or do you trust Jasmine Crockett? I mean, we send out of our paychecks, and you should really look at your pay stubs. We've gotten conditioned in this country. We don't even think about that. It's just what gets taken out of our paycheck, and it's sent to Washington, and God knows what happens to it.
Well, that's intentional, by the way. I mean, the whole thing of income tax, you had to pay your income tax when it first became a thing, and people didn't like it because they had to, at the end of the year or however they organized it, they had to take the money out. But now they've made it so that you don't even have to look at it. So if your tax rate goes up or down or sideways, you don't even notice. And it's all intentional so that, you just keep feeding the slop, eating out of the trough, and never complain.
Well, maybe that's something we should ask the Republicans and our friend Mark Alford to pass. Let's pass a bill that there is no more withholding. You have to pay it.
Yeah.
You got to write a check every week, every month. And I think if you sat down and you wrote that check, you would be, who are these idiots and what are they doing with my money?
Right.
Because it's your money. It's not their money. They say it's their money, right? And they squeal like stuck hogs when somebody really smart like Elon Musk comes in and they demonize him because that's their power base. The $5 trillion that we have voluntarily sent to Washington, D.C., that is their power base. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, they spend more. And if you gave them 7, they'd spend 10. That's just the way that they are. The other thing that came out of this sit down with Brett Baer, they're squealing about all these people who are being fired. Did you know that so far the number of the federal workforce that has been let go is 0.15% of the federal workforce? Not even 1%. 0.15% of the federal workforce. This after Joe Biden, in his 4 years, increased the federal workforce by 5%. What are all those people doing? And that's what Elon Musk is doing. They are getting to the bottom of this, and they're figuring it out. Are they going to make mistakes along the way? He said they would, and they will. But my God, try. You got to try. We've been on this. We were on this for 4 years talking about the debt. And the people on the left said, well, when Donald Trump was there, he ran it up. Yeah, he did. I've always been a debt hawk, and I'm still a debt hawk. And I want them to take this seriously, and I think that they are taking it seriously. Logic is just completely lost on these people. There was, I put up a meme on the podcast page of a woman who basically is going to show Elon Musk. She bought a Tesla, right? Mm-hmm. And she's driving another electric vehicle now, Rivian or something like that.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, they're a competitor. It's like a SUV or pickup truck type thing.
She rolled over negative equity of $26,000 to get the Rivian.
Yeah.
But she's going to show Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Who already had your money. I mean, he got your money. So there you go.
Yeah, the resale value on these cars is not very good. Yeah. So that's something to keep in mind.
I used to be the king of negative equity. I did, because I was a car whore. I'd have a car for like 6 months and go, I want a new one. Yeah. And I'd roll it over. I bought an Explorer, a Ford Explorer, back when you could get one for about $36,000. And I had done the negative equity so many times, Kurt, I paid $52,000 for a $36,000 vehicle because I was an idiot. You learn lessons along the way. And of course, the sales guy was like, the payment's only going to be that. Of course, it's like a 20-year mortgage on this vehicle, but you can make the payment. That's not a problem. Yeah. So I've learned lessons along the way, and I will never do that again. This lady is probably going to have to learn that lesson the hard way. I want to take you back. Now, this is at a point when our debt was only $33 trillion. Dave Ramsey is a guy that I have tried to follow. I'm not 100% on it, although I will tell you that now, in my own personal situation, I'm debt-free except for my mortgage, and it's a 15-year fixed rate that Chad Taylor got for me, who we're going to talk to later. So I think I'm closer to him than I've ever been. But he got a caller asking about the debt, and you've heard it from me so many different times. It's time to hear it from a different voice. This is a clip from Dave Ramsey.
Questions about the national debt.
Mm-hmm.
Who do we owe this $33 trillion to?
Mm-hmm. Well, who we owe the money to, or whoever bought the Treasury bills, are called T-bills. And the Treasury of the United States issues a bond. And if you buy that bond, then that means that if I buy a, $100,000 Treasury bond, that means the United States of America owes me $100,000 if I bought that bond. And it pays me a certain interest rate. I know they're never going to pay the bond, or if they do, they're going to pay it by issuing another one.
Yeah.
Okay? Which is, if it actually ever does come due, that's how they do it. They'll issue another set to cover the ones that are coming due. But I also know that I can sell that bond at any moment because the credit rating of the United States of America is still strong. So that's how they finance it. And the danger is when foreign countries or foreign entities of any kind, wealthy corporations in foreign countries, buy up a bunch of that. That means the United States is in debt.
I've got a few questions.
Okay, so that's Dave Ramsey's take on it, and he's absolutely right. Now, I don't know when it was $33 trillion. I can tell you that today, if you pull up the debt clock, it's at $36.657 trillion, and it is still going up. We still are taking in the $5 trillion in this fiscal year, but we are still spending a little over $7 trillion. Those numbers don't add up. And then when you look at the top four things that we spend money on, if you add up Medicare/Medicaid, Social Security, defense, and interest on the debt, which is really going up because interest rates are high, that totals $5 trillion.
Yep.
So that's what we're taking in, $5 trillion, and it pays for the top four things I just told you about. What's the other $2 trillion going for? I think that's what Elon Musk is trying to get to the bottom of. Social Security. How many 150-year-old people are we paying on Social Security? I mean, this is absolutely fascinating, and you can spend time with it. You can find this at usdebtclock.org. But it's got all kinds of interesting stuff in here that you can dig into, and you can see just how bad things are and why we need to do something. You can't just keep kicking this down the road, and that's what we've done. Because, what Dave Ramsey didn't tell you in that clip is, when you've got $7 trillion in spending versus $5 trillion in revenue, you're issuing bonds for all that money, but then that goes down to the bottom line for the debt, and the debt just keeps growing. So that's why we are debt hawks here at Dale Carter's America. Now, who do you trust more? Do you trust Elon Musk and the best and the brightest, or do you trust Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett? Jasmine is, remember, Sunny Hostin? Didn't she say that she's one of the leaders of the party now?
Yeah, she something to the effect of she needs to run for president or something like that.
Yeah. So she had a big week. Jasmine Crockett, she wants to, take Tesla down. She's advocating violence against Ted Cruz, and she's mocking Texas Governor Greg Abbott. And we've got clips on all three.
Just start at the top on this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Through
and
Joe
appearing
Concha.
to endorse threats against Republicans, this time from Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett.
I think that you punch. I think you punch. I think you're okay with you okay with punching. But it's Ted Cruz. I mean, this dude has to be knocked over the head, hard, right? There is no niceties with him.
Fox News contributor and senior writer for the
Keep going.
Washington Examiner, Joe Concha, joins us now. Joe, good morning to you. So Axios had a piece yesterday claiming that Democrats are in a deep, dark hole with no party leader and the lowest favorability rating ever. And comments like this from Jasmine Crockett talking about punching, whether verbal or otherwise, certainly doesn't help that cause.
Yeah, Carly, Jasmine Crockett in the past few days has called for Elon Musk to be, quote, taken down. She wants that as a present for her birthday. Then, as you just played, advocating punching opponents like Ted Cruz has to be knocked over the head, like, hard. Lest we forget there were, 2 assassination attempts on Donald Trump's life last year? One that, if he didn't turn very hard to the right, he would have been assassinated on national television. This sort of rhetoric cannot stand. But I guess this is what gets you on CNN, MSNBC, and wherever she was being interviewed on that particular clip yesterday. She is booked all the time because she says things like this, so I guess expect it to continue. But if you're a responsible network, you would say, all right, we can't put somebody on this that's advocating violence against her opponents.
Right.
But
so go back to the beginning of the clip, because I want to make a point here. She is a highly educated woman who comes from a very rich family in Texas, and just recently has she added in what I would call the jive talking.
Yeah.
Right? She's jive talking. She didn't talk like this before, but now it's getting her on CNN and MSNBC. So this is not how she usually talks, but man, she's making a show out of it.
I think that you punch. I think you punch. I think you're okay with you okay with punching. But like it's
she actually corrected herself. She said, "I think you're okay." And then she said, "I think you okay." She did you see that? She was using proper English there, and then she had to correct it. Watch one more time.
I think that you punch. I think you punch. I think you're okay with you okay with punching. But like it's Ted Cruz. I mean, like this dude has to be knocked over the head.
This Ted Cruz, this man need to be knocked over the head.
Yeah, it's like Flip Wilson when he used to do, the comedian from the 70s used to do a female voice. And, you know, that's exactly what she sounds like. I can't remember the name that Flip used for it, but it was really funny. So then you got Jasmine Crockett making fun of Greg Abbott, and this is not a standalone. This is like her nickname for Greg Abbott.
Because we in these hot-ass Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now.
Yeah, so Governor Hot Wheels...
And the only thing...
is Greg Abbott, and he was injured in a jogging accident when he was 26. I guess a tree fell on him.
Oh, I didn't know that's what happened.
He's been a paraplegic ever since. So
that Governor Hot Wheels. He Governor Hot Wheels.
Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
That one doesn't really bother me.
It doesn't?
No.
Because of the stuff that Trump's done?
Yeah, I mean, it's just name calling. It's just words. Like, come on. I mean, the other thing is can be construed very easily as a legitimate call to violence. That's a problem. You know, this is just her being rude, you know, with a nickname. I mean, I don't really care.
Well, and they have a really good excuse for doing it because, again, it's whataboutism. So violence against Elon Musk and Tesla, you know what the whataboutism there. Well, what about January 6th? Yeah. What about January 6th? So they can basically do anything.
Yeah, they'll accuse us of whataboutism and then bring up January 6th every 5
Exactly.
seconds.
That's what they're doing. It's like, yeah, violence? What about January 6th? They're always going to have that. And then when anybody makes fun of anybody, they'll pull out this clip from Donald Trump about making fun of a reporter.
Yeah, this is oldie but
right after a couple of good paragraphs, it's talking about northern New Jersey draws the prober's eye, written by a nice reporter. Now the poor guy, you got to see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember. He's going like, I don't remember. Oh, maybe that's what I said. This was 14 years ago. They didn't do a retraction.
Yeah. So that gives them license to make fun of anybody.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. My thing has always been politics doesn't have to be so proper. You know what I mean? Like we live in a culture that's degenerate and shitty and like mean. Like can we stop pretending? You know what I mean? Can we stop pretending that like all of a sudden, we're like, we care about decorum, you know? No, we don't. Like, just get over it. Yeah. It's words, you know?
So what happens if we find out that Tim Walz has some sort of epileptic thing, and I'm over here going,
I was joking. You have a sense of humor.
Yeah. Well, then you'll be the next viral clip.
One.
Maybe that'll get us some new subscribers.
Well, you know, you could always hope. So Democrats, I will tell you this, already took out some of their trash. They got rid of Jamal Bowman. That guy needed to go. And Cori Bush in St. Louis. She definitely needed to go. They were primaried by centrist Democrats, and the centrist Democrats won. So maybe...
Did you see they have a new podcast, by the way?
Who does?
Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush.
I didn't. But boy, I bet it's good.
Let's watch.
You got something?
Yeah, this is the launch announcement from Cori Bush.
Remember me, Cori Bush?
Nope.
As a member of Congress, I fought for the people. I stood on the side of justice at home and abroad.
Congresswoman Cori Bush slept on the steps of the Capitol, pushing Congress and the president to help keep millions of Americans from facing eviction.
Cori Bush called for a ceasefire very early on.
AIPAC have spent over $8 million in an effort to defeat Bush.
Outside groups, including AIPAC, spent millions and millions of dollars to unseat me, to try to silence me. But baby, I'm still here, and I'm not alone.
Remember me? I'm Jamal Bowman. My belief in standing with working people and fighting for what's right meant that for some people, I was saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. The special interests came after me too.
Congressmember Bowman, one of the first to call for a ceasefire.
Pro-Israel groups have spent close to $20 million to take out progressive Congressman Jamal Bowman.
The most expensive congressional primary in American history.
It was essential for them to get me out, but I'm not here to talk about me.
We're here to talk about the big picture, to show
So dramatic.
what's going on in America.
The best part of that whole clip
We'll be
is
breaking down what's really.
they're on the outside of the Capitol.
Yeah,
They're not
right,
on the inside.
right. Happening in
And if you let Jamal in, he's going to pull the fire alarm if it's not going his way because he did
the
that.
lobbying, the big money, and how we could all be working better for you, but isn't.
It's our insider's perspective from the outside.
On our new show,
Bowman and Bush, y'all.
watch
Bowman
us
and Bush,
on
y'all.
Details YouTube channel. See you soon.
Oh boy, I bet we're going to find some clips from that in the
Oh,
coming days.
let's see. For sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
All
Anyways,
right.
continue.
Down the road. And maybe if you get Jasmine Crockett out, maybe she'll be Bowman, Bush, and Crockett. It'd be the most crooked law firm you've ever seen in your life. All right. Hey, I want to thank Royal Roofing and Solar for being part of our big podcast here. Austin Watterson and his team. Mike Dale, their solar expert. Spring is a great time to be looking at that roof, especially after all the storms we had. We're going to get more. It is spring in Kansas City, after all. So get that roof inspected. Find out if it needs to be replaced. And if it's your forever home, maybe solar makes your Evergy bill a thing of the past. Now, they're not, the guys going door to door saying, I can make your electric bill go away. Just sign on the dotted line and we'll get it done. There's 16 questions Mike Dale's going to ask you, and depending on your answers, depends on whether you are a candidate, whether it's going to work or not, because they don't want to leave you with the system and then have you call later and say, well, I'm still getting like a $200 electric bill every month. We want to make that electric bill go away. So combine it. Get the roof, get the solar. It's all one phone number, 816-540-7057. The website is roofedbyroyal.com. Roofed with an ED on the end of roof, byroyal.com. And let them get on top of your roof and see if there's any damage. And, make sure that you got the professionals at Royal working on your roof. They did the roof at my house. They'll be glad to do the roof at your house. Then you can celebrate everything at Fun House Pizza. Jim Dingman. And somebody did grab me last night at Ameristar with the Sammy Kershaw concert. Say, I'm looking forward to the next time we can all be together at Fun House Pizza. And we're going to get a date here really soon coming up in May. And we're going to have a lot of fun guests for that. And we hope that you'll be there as well. In the meantime, if you'd like to get a pizza, grab one today at Fun House Pizza, 50 Highway in Lee's Summit, 7 Highway in Blue Springs. You can order online, stop by and pick it up. They'll deliver it. You can have your big party there. In fact, I'm hungry right now. How do I order a pizza? Go to the website. Tell me how I do that.
You go to funhousepizza.com and then click order online.
Yeah.
And then it brings up this page.
How about that?
And then you can select pizza.
Look at those pizzas, because they don't just like put a pepperoni here, a pepperoni there. They stack that stuff.
Oh, yeah, it's stacked. Big Daddy Pizza.
Best
Buffalo
pizza in
chicken, Funhouse combo, meat eater pizza, taco pizza, veggie pizza.
No veggie pizza. In my experience, if you're in a group of people and you get like the meat lovers, right, or the extra pepperoni and all that, and you throw in one veggie.
Yeah.
That's the one that's left almost full.
Yeah.
Right.
Nobody eats that.
My parents used to do that. They used to get like one that was like the complete combo, and I'd get the pepperoni, and they'd eat maybe one of their pieces, and they'd come after mine. I'm like, no, mine.
Yeah. You get 4 pizzas. You get a plain, a pepperoni, a supreme or a meat lovers, and then a veggie. And nobody eats the veggie.
Nobody eats the veggie. Yeah. Sorry, Jim. I mean, save money on produce. 50 Highway in Lee Summit, 7 Highway in Blue Springs. It's a great place to gather. Take the family. Fun House Pizza. Eat there. Take it with you. Whatever the case may be, it's the best pizza in town. Fun House Pizza. Okay, the lawfare update. We've been talking about lawfare, and again, a reminder that they tried to cripple Donald Trump just about any way they could, and it's continuing. So these cases where federal district court judges are slowing down the Trump agenda, seems like it's one guy. How does that even happen? James Boasberg. Right? He's the guy who told him to turn the planes around that had the Venezuelan gang members, allegedly, on them. And now he's going after him again on this Chatgate thing.
Yeah.
How does one guy keep getting these? A guy who obviously hates Donald Trump. He's very conflicted. But then when you Google James Boasberg, here's what you find. CNN calls him principled and fair.
This is I don't have a link for that, but this is a funny article from the Babylon Bee. You know them, right?
Oh, yeah.
The headline is Trump leaves presidency to become even more powerful district court judge.
Move over, James Boasberg. We've got a new guy coming in. He is the president of the United States. CNN calls him principled and fair. Did you know that he was Brett Kavanaugh's roommate in college?
Huh.
That came from NPR, National Public Radio.
I did not know that.
Those guys were on Capitol Hill this week, by the way, defending the billions of dollars in your tax dollars that go to fund PBS and NPR.
How haven't we not cut that yet?
I don't know. We should.
Trump does that need Congress?
I don't know exactly how this process is working. If Elon Musk is recommending to Congress cuts they're going to make, or if there are certain discretionary things through the executive branch that they can cut. But there needs to be a lot of both.
Yeah.
And this is something that needs to go away.
I mean, that to me seemed like an easy one. The NPR PBS thing, that seemed like a layup. You just cut it on day one.
First of all,
what's taking so long?
They're both so far left, they've left America. I mean, we already have MSNBC and CNN, and then you've got NPR that's competing with actual FM radio stations in towns. And in Kansas City, for instance, there's probably 50 signals in Kansas City. Why does one of them have to be, supplemented with my federal tax dollars to support a competitor? It shouldn't happen. It's time to move on from that. Take away the federal funding and make them compete just like everybody else competes. So that's my NPR rabbit hole, and we'll probably talk about that more in the coming days and weeks. Did you know that James Boasberg's daughter is a defense attorney for illegal aliens? They're also called migrants who happen to be undocumented. We call them illegal aliens. So he's conflicted to begin with, right? So he draws the case to force Trump to not deport Venezuelan gang members through the 1798 Alien Enemies Act. And now he draws the oversight of Chatgate. So if you wonder how that happened, we wonder that as well. I had an exchange on Facebook with somebody. I go down these rabbit holes with the keyboard warriors. I told you last week that a guy wanted to box me, and then he'd come on the podcast. That's really nice. So I went through this whole thing with this guy, right? And he says, well, federal district court judges aren't as corrupt as Supreme Court justices because those Supreme Court justices are appointed. I'm like, my head's about to explode. Read the freaking Constitution, okay?
Aren't the other judges appointed too?
Oh, absolutely they are. The same way. All federal court judges are appointed by the President of the United States and then confirmed by the Senate. And I reminded him of that, and then he went away. I suggested to him, read the Constitution. It's wonderful reading. And these keyboard warriors who come at me, Kurt, I mean, I'm not a constitutional lawyer. I mean, I took constitutional law in college. I'm a history scholar. I have degrees in history and political science, so that tells you what my reading material has been like. And I've read the Constitution. And it makes me wonder, when somebody gets appointed by the president to be on the federal bench, don't you think they would have my level of knowledge plus a lot higher?
You would hope so.
I would hope so, because I've watched Grey's Anatomy, but I'm not ready to conduct surgery, right? So I know a little bit about medical, but not like this. I know I have a pretty good understanding of the Constitution, so I'd put that right about here. And I would think that if you're a federal judge like James Boasberg, you would be way up here. So that just takes me back to one of our favorites, Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana, who loves grilling federal court judge nominees because they have to come before the Senate Judiciary Committee, and Kennedy is on that. And you can go look up clips online for YouTube on John Kennedy grilling judges, and some of them are very long, but I think this short clip makes my point.
Best. Thank you, Senator Booker. Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations to all of you. Judge on the far end, tell me what Article 5 of the Constitution does.
Crickets.
Article 5 is not coming to mind at the moment.
Okay. How about Article 2?
Neither is Article 2.
Okay, you can stop the tape right there. So,
I mean, I can tell you that. I'm a freaking idiot.
Tell me what Article 5 is.
Article 5 is for amendments.
Right.
For amending the Constitution through Congress or through a convention of states, as we've talked about. Article 2 is the president.
Right. So, yeah, and she should know, but those are layups.
Layups.
Absolute
Easy.
layups.
Easy.
Right. That's like if I'm coming into a job to be the program director of a radio station, and the general manager says, can you give me an example of a country record versus a top 40 record?
Right.
I could probably do that. I mean, that seems like a layup for what I do for a living.
Or like, which way does the microphone face? Does it face this way or does it face this way?
I think you want to talk into the end that makes noise.
Yeah.
That's important. So, okay, Article 5, maybe you give her a pass on that because that is amending the Constitution and that's fairly well down. But Articles 1, 2, and 3, Kurt, are the basis for the American Republic. They're the basis for our government. Article 1 is Congress. Article 2 is the executive or the president. Article 3 is the judiciary. Those three. I wonder if she would have known what Article 3 is. She's a judge. You would think you would know that you are an Article 3 actor.
Right.
I'm flabbergasted by these people who go before John Kennedy. You would think if there's enough tape out there now that, okay, I've been nominated by a Democrat president. I'm a very liberal judge. I better at least read the Constitution because he's going to ask me about it.
I wonder, too, from his perspective, if he had some kind of tip-off to that, because asking that kind of question can easily backfire on you. You know, if they're like, well, it's obviously this, you know, like then it kind of makes you look like an idiot for even asking the question. You know what I mean? So I wonder if he kind of knew that they weren't going to be able to answer, or he had some kind of inside
or knowing him, because he's like Matlock, right? Yeah. He is like the equivalent of Matlock in the United States Senate. He probably had another question behind that.
Right.
Well, if you know what that means, how come you ruled this way?
Right.
Why did you do this?
Right. That's a good point.
So there's always like a follow up, but they can't even get the first one.
Right. He didn't even
Article
have to.
5. I don't
He didn't
know.
even have to get to the follow up.
Yeah. So someone who is on the Supreme Court, who was appointed by a Democrat, is one of the liberal justices, Elena Kagan. Now, this happened during the Biden administration, but I think it rolls over into the Trump administration 2.0 because she was asked about district court judges inserting themselves into the Article 2 power of the executive branch.
You know, in recent years, some district courts have issued nationwide injunctions, and this happened in the Trump administration, and it has also happened in the Biden administration. So this has no political tilt to it. But some district courts have, very quickly issued nationwide injunctions to stop a policy in its tracks. That something that the president and or Congress has determined to be the national policy, and it just one district court stops it. And then you combine that with the ability of people to forum shop to go to a particular district court where they think that that will be the result. And you look at something like that and you think, well, that can't be right. That one district court, whether it's in, in the Trump years, people used to go to the Northern District of California. And in the Biden years, they go to Texas. And it just can't be right that one district judge can stop a nationwide policy in its tracks and leave it stopped for the years that it takes to go through normal process.
Boy, she says it all right there.
Yeah, spot on.
It's a delaying tactic. And
well, also, if you think about, not to interrupt you, but if you think about the supremacy clause, right? We talked about the Constitution. So the supremacy clause, meaning that federal law supersedes state law,
right.
State law supersedes local. Why would that not apply to a judge? A district judge is a judge for a district, not even for a state. You know what I mean? She mentioned you have the Northern District of California. Right. You have the Southern District of New York, which is always in the news. It's not even statewide. So you would think that the same supremacy clause would apply and would apply across branches, right? So a federal body of Congress is going to supersede a district judge, even though it's, co-equal branches. One is federal, one is district. It makes sense.
It does make sense.
Think of it that way.
Well, this tells you that when it does get to SCOTUS, if she follows through with what she said there, it should be a 9-0. 9-0. Ketanji Brown Jackson can't even tell you what a woman is, so it may well be 8-1. But Sotomayor's been around for a while. She knows what she's talking about. And this isn't even a state, by the way, Kurt. This is the District of Columbia. This judge is from the District of Columbia.
Oh, yeah.
Right, which is also very blue. Right. So, we're talking about whataboutism. Okay, well, what about this? This happened 14 times total during the Biden administration, 64 times during the first Trump administration. And they're on path to continue doing this and to slow things down. And this is not what we voted for. I go back to the fact that 77 million Americans voted for change in this election. And all you're doing is slowing down the change. And if this is what you're going to run on, I hope you do, because we have a midterm coming up next year. And this person I had the debate with, who went ape shit in the office, by the way, said, well, all we need to focus on is the midterm, because in the midterm, we're going to take it all back. Okay, what does that mean? Does that mean you're going to spend even more money? No, we need to spend less money. Well, that's not what you're voting for. I don't want to have this debate anymore. Okay, so I'm better now. I told you this was going to be a fun episode. Yeah. A lot of hand gestures on my part. Michael Schroer, he's the guy who's selling houses. And if you follow him, and we do follow him because he's the official real estate guy of Dale Carter's America, that guy's selling stuff left and right.
He's doing great, yeah.
He is doing fantastic. And one of the latest I saw was it was just a big open piece of land. That's one of the things he specializes in because he's a builder on top of that. So if you've found the property that you want to build your dream home on, Michael Schroer is the guy you need to be talking to. He is at RE/MAX Elite in Lee's Summit. You can reach him on the phone at 816-373-8400. His cell phone always on, 816-520-9342. One thing you'll find about the people that we talk about on Dale Carter's America, first of all, they agree with us, okay? They agree with us. We see the problems that happened on the left during Biden's administration. We question things that happened in the Trump administration, like tariffs. We need to have a guest on who understands tariffs better than you and I do.
Yes,
I don't understand it, so I'm going to work on that. So we do question things. We're not bootlickers, as I said earlier, for Donald Trump. And that's where Michael Schroer comes down. We're just real Midwestern value type people who want to get the job done. And that's why he's going to find you your next house, whether it's your first home, moving out of an apartment. Maybe you need more bedrooms because, Kurt's going to populate Raytown, it looks like, at the rate he's going. Maybe you need a bigger house. Maybe all those kids have finally moved out. You need something smaller. Whatever stage of life you're in, Michael Schroer is our guy. He should be your guy at RE/MAX Elite in Lee's Summit, 816-373-8400, 816-520-9342. Then, when you find that perfect house, you need the perfect loan. So you found the perfect house. Michael Schroer found you the perfect house. And now you've got to get a loan for that house because not all of us can write a check for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Even if it's like $150,000, you can't write a check for it. So that's where the guy who is our next guest comes in, the red carpet lender, my dear friend, Chad Taylor. Chad, how are you, my friend?
Unbelievable. How's Mr. Dale Carter?
You know, I was just looking at your background and I said, that's a red wall. Surely that's Kansas City Chiefs red.
It's the red carpet lender red.
Yeah. And I say that because Chad and I are dear friends. We go back a long way. The red carpet lender is the official lender of Dale Carter's America. But Chad and I met when he was on the city council in Excelsior Springs, right?
Long time ago.
You were the mayor pro tem.
I was.
I served in that role in Blue Springs a couple of times. It means pretend mayor, in case you're wondering in politics.
It means when the mayor's gone, most of the time we fill in.
Exactly. It's like the vice president. As John Adams said, it's not worth a warm bucket of spit. But so that's how we got to be friends. And then, of course, I found out the big weakness in your life is you're a fan of the, what are they now? The Las Vegas Raiders, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because they were the Oakland Raiders for a long time. Then they moved to L.A., and then they moved back to Oakland, and now they're in Las Vegas because nobody wants them. I mean, they're a bunch of hooligans. And we have this bet every year.
Here we go.
Yeah, who's going to have the better season, the Chiefs or the Raiders? And if you're a fan of the NFL, you know that the Chiefs have pretty much eaten the Raiders' lunch. And speaking of lunch, the payoff is the loser has to buy lunch at the end of the season. So, Chad, how many years in a row is this now?
Are we going to go there? 13. Like for the first 2 years I won, and I don't think I've won a single lunch since then.
It's all right. You know, I love you, buddy. And one of these days the tide is going to turn.
You ought to. I'm feeding you every year.
Yeah. Maybe I'll, after I've retired or something like that, and I'm like 80 years old, I will eventually buy you lunch at some point. So
now, total disclaimer. Usually after week 5, I go to the Chiefs then after that.
Yeah, you just give up.
Because we're usually 0-5 or 1-4, and it's
right.
done.
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, you following the Raiders? Are they going to give us any kind of a run this year?
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not. Okay. So let's go with why you are on the podcast, because you are one of our sponsors now, theredcarpetlender.com. That is Chad Taylor. So again, we found this wonderful home. Now we got to finance the thing. We got to get a mortgage, and you're the guy we want to call.
Absolutely. Yes. So, what you want to do is, and I mean, I'd like to start off too by saying that, I do a soft credit pull at the very beginning when I'm helping the people out. So that way they can run the numbers to even see if they can get pre-approved to buy the house. And you need a pre-approval because a realtor won't go show you houses without one. And that's why you need me first. So I run all the numbers for you, see what you can qualify for, stay within your budget, and then turn that pre-approval over with your realtor, and then you go house shopping at that point.
So in other words, I did this in the reverse here. We should have put you first and then Michael Schroer. So you got this letter from Chad, the red carpet lender, and it tells you how much house you can afford. Then you go see Michael and say, here's what I got. Go find me a house.
That is correct.
All right. So we're into spring now. I would assume there's a lot of moving going on. You get the home tour and all that. How is business right now? Are people refinancing or buying? I mean, what's more, refi or buy?
It's about both, honestly, because the market is hot right now. Spring market. So everybody's starting to put their inventory has always been a problem for the last few years. As you know, rates went all the way down to 2% and 3% a few years ago. And that spoiled a lot of people. So if you're one of those that are waiting for the rates to go back down to 2 to 3%, it's not happening. They have all the experts have said that a healthy economy is 5 to 6% for mortgages.
Yeah.
And so that's where we're at right now. Of course, right now, rates are kind of like a roller coaster. They change multiple times a day, but they're running in the 6s for the most part. And so, yeah, it's just the market has definitely picked up a lot more Inventory is coming out there, which is allowing people to get out and find their dream homes.
Well, I will say this, that back during COVID, that's when those rates really hit the bottom. And
Yes,
I was just coming out of my divorce, and I wanted to refi my house, and you took care of me. You got me, I think it's a 2.6% on a 15-year fixed. Now, we understand that those days are long gone, but I'm just telling you, by way of full disclosure, when I needed a mortgage, I turned to the red carpet lender, and you really took care of me.
I appreciate that. That meant a lot to me. So.
Just because we're friends. I mean, you've got that ding in your character that you're a Raiders fan and all that. You're also like a karaoke guy. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I got Elvis in my corner right here too.
Yeah. So I mean, you've got some dings going against you, but the thing you've got going for you is you really go the extra mile for folks.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't take it for granted. I mean, there's thousands and thousands of lenders out there, and so when families choose to work with me, it's an honor. I mean, that you take that seriously, because outside of getting married or having kids, buying a house is one of the biggest things we're ever going to do while we're on this earth. And to be a part of that for them, man, it means the world. And so it sounds corny, but I just tell everybody, I treat every client borrower like, it's my mama trying to buy my house. My mama's my best friend. I'm a mama's boy. And so I'm not going to cut corners. I'm going to be transparent. I'm going to over communicate, and I'm going to close the deal on time. Those are the three things that I try to strive for.
When you and I talked last, you were talking about somebody that you helped in a situation using their mortgage to help out their overall budget scheme. Other than buying a house, how can that mortgage help somebody who's in financial straits?
Yeah. So right now, I mean, because of what's happened in the last few years, the value of homes have went up drastically. And what that means is you now have equity in your house. And so there's a lot of people, and that are living paycheck to paycheck. A lot of people are struggling with credit card debt, or they may have like what's called a HELOC, a home equity line of credit, which is basically a credit card on your house. Those things there are eating up their cash flow. And so what you can do is use that equity now in your house. And basically that's what your house is worth and what you owe, and take that equity and get rid of some of that debt. I mean, give you an example, a $10,000 balance on a credit card, if you just pay the minimum only, takes 29 years to pay it off.
Crazy.
That's the life of a mortgage right there. So why not get all that stuff wrapped into a fixed interest rate, and that way it's going to get paid off, and then just get a financial plan. I don't only just give you numbers, I give you a plan. And just like you, I will show you, if you want to pay this thing off early, this is what you need to do and pay extra, and I'll give you those numbers. So now you actually have a pot at the end of the rainbow of going, I really can be debt free. It really does happen. So
just have to not do it again.
Correct.
Because those credit card interest rates, I mean, what are they at now? They're in the 30s, aren't they?
Well, yeah, and that's what keeps changing. I mean, and in my industry, it's ironic because people are so focused on the interest rate when they go to buy a house or refinance.
Yeah.
But yet we're all paying 10 to 28% on our credit cards, and we don't blink an eye at that. So it's not so much the interest rate that matters as much as it is when can I be debt free, or
Right.
what can I do to free up some money to help me start saving for retirement, or even just to start having date nights, whatever. I mean, it makes a difference. And that's what I said. Numbers are numbers, and I can just get you the numbers. If it makes sense, we do it. If it doesn't, we don't.
How easy is it to get a mortgage these days?
It's a lot harder than it was in before 2008 and 2009 when the crash happened.
Well, I mean, in terms of like credit rating that you have to have.
No, a lot of people, here's the thing. We're not educated about how to handle credit at all. We're not taught this in school. We're just not taught the basics anymore. And so credit scores are very fragile. I mean, one late payment can ding you 30, 40 points on your credit scores. And so when I do that soft credit pull, I can see what I need to see to help you get your scores raised if you need to. So a lot of lenders will go down to 580 for depending on the type of loans. But typically, if you are struggling in 90 days or less, I can give you a plan to get your scores raised up. And it could be as simple as just paying down a revolving debt. You want to have it below 30% of your available credit. And that can raise your score 30, 40, 50 points just paying down one credit card. So again, that's my job as a lender, is to look at all that for you and figure it out and give you a plan. I don't tell you no, I tell you how.
Okay, that's great. I don't tell you no, I tell you how, and the rest of it's going to be up to you. So other than bringing a rolled up red carpet to the close, which you do because you close for me, what specifically do you do to roll out the red carpet?
Like I said, I just go back to where it was. I communicate with you. I'm transparent. You're going to know all about your numbers and know what they mean. Because again, we are so trained to just think about interest rate. And that's not always the case. You need to look at your cash to close. Because just like everything else, there's good and bad people in every industry. And so in our industry, people can hide numbers. And, people say, I can get you any rate you want, but you're going to pay for it. And so that's why transparency to me is a priority. I want you to know exactly what you're getting, because it is the largest purchase you're ever going to make in your life.
It's true. TheRedCarpetLender.com. That's how you find our pal, Chad Taylor. Any other contact information you want to give out for folks that are looking to get that mortgage?
I mean, yeah, that's the redcarpetlender.com is my website, and 816-896-2415 is my cell phone. Open all. I work evenings and weekends and holidays.
Hardworking guy. I know. I've known him for a long time, all seriousness here. And he is a big fan of Elvis. In fact, you've done Elvis in karaoke. On the way out of this interview on Dale Carter's America, do you want to expose the DCA audience to a little Elvis? I know it's early.
It's very early. I mean, I could always end the conversation just like Elvis always did.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's Chad Taylor, longtime friend of mine.
I appreciate you.
Friend of this program. TheRedCarpetLender.com. If you're in the market, get that pre-approval letter so you go out with confidence when you're shopping for a home there with Michael Schroer. Chad, thanks for being part of Dale Carter's America, and let's get some people financed.
Let's grab lunch.
You're buying.
Always.
Thank you, Chad.
Thank you. Thank you.
Again, that's Chad Taylor. You need a loan. He's the guy at TheRedCarpetLender.com. Got to put the in there. TheRedCarpetLender.com. We want to thank one of our other sponsors today, and that's Dale's Body Shop in Blue Springs, the original Dale's Collision Repair Shop. I put something up on the podcast page on Facebook. We do a lot of stuff on that, so not only should you subscribe to the actual podcast, but make sure that you're following us on Facebook, because things happen during the week that we want to get out to you. Dale Reynolds, of course, is the guy behind Dale's Body Shop, and he's always restoring classic vehicles, and he had this pickup truck that he totally restored, and the thing was absolutely beautiful. So even if it's a classic vehicle, when Dale gets done with it, it's going to look showroom new. And he's been doing this for cars, trucks, vans, SUVs since 1987. Dale's Body Shop in Blue Springs. You wreck that car, and the wrecker says, hey, where are we going with this thing? There's only one name you need to know. And if you know Dale Carter's America, there's that truck, by the way, if you're watching it. Look how beautiful that thing is.
Shiny.
That is showroom new. And that's what Dale Reynolds will do for your vehicle, unless you've totaled it. If you've totaled it, then you got to call Bob Watson and say, I need to get a new car. Either way, you got to call Bob.
That sure is pretty.
It is pretty. Dale's Body Shop in Blue Springs, taking care of customers, taking care of you. If you get in a wreck and they say, hey, where we're taking this, Dale's Body Shop. 37 years they've been putting back together what you've broken. Now, I told you today I'm wearing my red shirt. It's not for the Red Carpet Lender. It's not even for the Chiefs. It's for Bob Watson, State Farm agent. 50 years he's been a State Farm agent in eastern Jackson County. He serves both Missouri and Kansas. You need a rate quote? Bundle your home and car insurance. You'll save even more. Give him a shot at your business at 816-229-7878. You won't get that cut rate 800 number service. You know, you might get a really, really low rate, but then you're going to need to use it. Mm-hmm. Then you make that phone call and you're on hold for like an hour and a half. When you call Bob Watson State Farm Insurance Agency office, you're going to get a team of people on your side who are going to get the fix for your problem into motion. Auto, home, life, commercial insurance, boats. Hey, it's springtime in Kansas City. Pontoons are going out. If it's important enough for you to have, you need to insure it at Bob Watson State Farm, 816-229-7878. Now, why did I wear my Bob Watson shirt? Well, first of all, I love Bob, and he gave us these shirts, so, it's clean. Came out of my closet, all that. The White House Easter egg roll may look a little different this year. And I didn't put a clip up on this. I don't know if you have anything on this.
I'm just going to look and see what I can
They're going to do sponsorships this year, ranging from $75,000 to $200,000. Right? Oh, there you go. That's awesome. Right? That makes my point. Because where might this end? Will our federal buildings look like NASCAR vehicles? We've got to do something to get out of the hole that we're in. Why not sell things? I mean, maybe it won't look like the White House with every logo like a NASCAR vehicle on it. But, think about things like the Washington Monument. Very large phallic symbol. Why not the Viagra Washington Monument? Why not the Trojan Washington Monument? You could even put a little tip on the top of it. Perhaps it could be ribbed down the sides for her pleasure. That would open up a whole new area of government revenue. The Department of Revenue, right? It could be this kind of revenue, not our tax revenue, okay? Think about all the different things that we could do. And this is almost like a radio station. Back in the glory days of radio, Kurt, we used to say we sold everything but the oink, right? We could put your name on anything. And that's what they need in the federal government now. Think about this. You could have patches on military uniforms. Pro teams are already doing that, right? You see, the Chiefs, whenever they're in training camp, they've got a patch. NBA teams, they wear a patch throughout the entire season. Hell, the Royals.
Yeah, they have Quick Trip on their arms now. Yeah.
The Cleveland American League Baseball team, I won't be saying the name that they changed it to because I think it's just ridiculous, but the Cleveland American League Baseball team.
This is Grok.
What is that?
30-second it's a crappy AI Trojan combo.
Cleveland has a marathon on their sleeves. So we have the battle of the gas stations going on in Kansas City this weekend. You got the quick trippers and the marathoners. So why not? How about decals on military vehicles? We don't just want a tank. Maybe it's got, a Tonka logo on it. Tonkas, they're tough.
Yeah.
This could just be the beginning as we look for creative ways to bring down the deficit and, of course, the debt. So always thinking, always trying to have fun. That's what we do. And maybe next week we'll get this cord replaced on this camera. And
we will.
We won't have to look at the meme you anymore.
Hey.
We can.
I think it looks pretty good.
Where's mine? I wanted one.
Okay, we'll do it for next time.
All right, next time it'll be meme me. And until next week, we'll have all kinds of stuff to talk about then. This is Dale Carter's America.
The views expressed on Dale Carter's America are Dale's and Kurt Wheeler's. They do not necessarily reflect the views of KFKF or Steel City Media. Comments can be sent to dalecartersamerica@gmail.com. Check back for weekly episodes. Subscribe, spread the word, and give us a 5-star review. Thanks for being a part of Dale Carter's America.